Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. Johnny Hamburger's still with you. And what's this? Is that a whisk? Bro, do you keep a whisk with you to mix your coffee? Yes, because I'm a geek about coffee, so of course I got a whisk. I got to aerate the coffee, get all those aromas out. This segment's going to be a little bit shorter because I chew up so much time on the 3 segments before, especially segment number 2, which was like 16 and a half minutes, but it was so good. Oh, it felt so good on the heart to get all that out there. But now let's hit on some geek topics, almost rapid fire. A Nobel Prize has finally been awarded to the team who discovered and detected gravitational waves. And I'm going to read an excerpt from Ars Technica so that you have more insight into what that Nobel Prize is and who gets it. So this is an excerpt from arstechnica.com. Caltech's Kip Thorne, a theoretician who made sure we knew what a gravitational wave would look like when we saw it, was one honoree. He was joined by Rain Weiss, an MIT scientist who helped build some of the first prototype detectors that would eventually inspire the LIGO design, L-I-G-O. And Barry Barish, another Caltech physicist who was put in charge of the LIGO collaboration and became instrumental in ensuring that the hardware was built and that a large international collaboration was present to operate it and analyze the results. While LIGO was a stunning success, its history suggests that there were countless ways it and the entire field of gravitational wave physics might have failed, and those ways all lead back to the very person whose work suggested that space-time itself could experience ripples. End quote from Ars Technica. Gravitational waves. Basically, the theory was that when two black holes orbit each other close enough or swing past each other or collide with each other, that those two massive objects, and just describing them as massive objects is the biggest understatement in the universe, literally. When massive objects like that collided, they would literally send out ripples like a pebble in a pond. They'd send out ripples throughout space-time that you could detect fluctuations in gravity as those ripples passed by Earth. So we would detect that two black holes were coming close to each other and colliding or whatever, and then we'd look to the instruments. We should be able to detect that ripple any day now, any moment now. And of course, they did. They were able to detect the ripple in gravity, which means two sensors, basically aligned with lasers and whatnot, detected a difference in gravity at one station and the other station very quickly. And I'm oversimplifying it big time, but the fact remains that somebody who did not lose their childlike curiosity, somebody discovered or thought that maybe we can detect ripples in gravity. And they didn't quit on that curiosity, and they developed instruments in collaboration with other scientifically curious people to detect gravity waves. And now they get a Nobel Prize in physics. Good for them. Next subject real quick. How much time do I have left in this? About 3 minutes. About 3 minutes. An airline plans to use electric airplanes in 10 years. Is that possible? This is another thing from Ars Technica. Electric airplanes in 10 years? I don't think passenger airplanes, all electric, will be ready in 10 years. And I hope to God that I eat my words. I hope that it actually does happen in 10 years. I hope that electric passenger aircraft are a thing in my lifetime. That would be great. Here's why I'm skeptical about that decade projection. Batteries are heavy, and literally everything having to do with flight is contingent on weight. How you're going to provide enough power to power the aircraft and and hold passengers electrically with batteries, I don't see how that is currently possible. Oh, well, Johnny, why don't we just put solar panels all over the airplane? That works for an airplane, an ultralight with nobody on it. Actually, that's not entirely true. We just flew around the world in an electric airplane, the Solar Impulse, I think it was called. But that was one person to demonstrate the technology. We're talking about filling an aircraft, a 737 or A320, with almost 100 people, 60 or 70 people, whatever. It could be less. And flying it 100% electric. I don't think 10 years is long enough for that to happen. There has to be a remarkable breakthrough in battery technology to get batteries that are light enough and have the capacity to run the engines. And I'm still not sure what those engines are going to be. Jet engines? Not jet in the conventional way of, combustion jets, but jets of air. I don't know how it's going to work. These turbines and reducing motors and reducing fins and N1 and down to the N2. All that kind of stuff that goes into a jet engine. I don't know how they're going to run that electrically. And can you call it a jet if it's not using combustion? The combustion of a jet engine feeds on itself, basically, to provide the thrust. I'm not going to get into all the physics of a jet engine, but electric airlines. In 10 years, is that possible? I don't think so, but I hope I eat my words. Gamers, we all love finding Easter eggs in our games. And an Easter egg has been found recently in a vintage game. A vintage game, that sounds so sad to say. It's a game from my childhood, from the 90s. Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega has a hidden Easter egg that... Usually Easter eggs are stuff you just kind of stumble upon, like in the game. This Easter egg was found by actually someone physically tapping the cartridge. They found that they wiggled and tapped the cartridge enough, it brought up a level select screen. It says, "Congratulations, you found the level select screen here in Sonic 3D Blast." So that's a hidden Easter egg that comes from a physical touch. And basically what happens is that physical little tap on the cartridge breaks the connection between the cartridge pins and the console's pins. And instead of just freezing the game, the designer had it automatically go to a level select screen so that he could get through the verification validation process for Sega faster. Anyways, so that's kind of a neat Easter egg to find in a vintage game. And let's do one more thing before we run out of time here in Geek Therapy Radio. Maybe a couple things. A skier hits a new world record. I don't think it's a world record, but he basically held on to the back of a Jaguar car, not an animal, but a skier held onto the back of a vehicle essentially and got up to 117 miles an hour. So good for that person, that guy or girl. The proposed Hyperloop now will have let's do this again. There's a Hyperloop. Elon Musk's Hyperloop is proposed in Missouri to go across the state of Missouri in 25 minutes. Hyperloop I've talked about a lot on this show. It's a hypersonic mode of transportation that isn't actually hypersonic because it exists in a vacuum and you can't go hypersonic in a vacuum. But it would be much faster than an airplane in getting passengers to and fro across the country. The Bugatti Chiron that I talked about a couple weeks ago that went from 0 to 400 kilometers to 0 in world record time. Well, that world record's been shattered now. The Agera RS, Agera RS, shatters Chiron's 0 to 400 to 0 record. So up to you, Bugatti, to reclaim your title, which I don't think you're going to do. And I think that's it for Geek Therapy Radio. Sorry that I had to abbreviate this last segment, but I crammed into some good geek stuff. Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram. You know what I'm going to say now. Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube, and geektherapyradio.com. Thank you so much for spending time with me this Sunday morning. I guess it's about almost 1 a.m. if you're listening on the AM, KPRC 950 AM. Thank you for spending time with me. I am Johnny Hamburger. I was your mental curator. Visit with me every week here on the radio, or you can just go find the podcast on Spreaker and iTunes and the iHeartRadio app and all sorts of other outlets. Whatever your favorite way to listen to podcast is, whatever app you use, just type in Geek Therapy Radio and I promise you my show will come up and you'll be able to listen. So thank you from everybody here at Geek Therapy Radio, me, for listening, and I'll see you next week. Be good to each other. I love you. Do not let the evil of this world beat you. Keep keep your curiosity. Spark that childlike curiosity in yourself again, and have a great week and have fun with your hobbies, and don't be afraid to geek out. Peace out, everybody.
I'm bringing geeky back. The mother nerds don't know how to act. I think it's neato what's up on your rack. So plug it in and blow on the game pack. Take him to the bridge. Come on. Dirty game. This here corrosion, baby, that's so lame. Here's isopropyl, baby, save the day. The screen's still black, so check the RCA. Atari, converter jack, CRT, centipede. Let me watch you work the joystick. Use all 8 bits. Go for high score. ASS. And get your geeky on. 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 Get your geeky on.